All right, so this is for University of St. Thomas. This is lesson 6, and it is regarding 7.1 and 7.2 sections. All right, so before we get too far into actual processing of things and doing things, I want to walk through a little bit around the coordinate plane. You may hear it as a bunch of things. It could be called the rectangular coordinate plane, XY plane, Cartesian plane. Those are all the same thing. Okay, those are all this. I want to make sure that you are aware that the horizontal one, which is also our number line, we've talked a little bit about that. That's our real numbers. This is that line. All right, and I want to point out X is going to be pushy. X is bossy. And why I say that is X comes first in the ordered pair. X tells Y what to do. And X is going to support, or X holds up Y in slope formula. All right, so this is our x-axis. It's, as I said, our number line. Here we have the y-axis. This is what is referred to in other circumstances as the imaginary number line. We are not going to get into that until the very, very end of the class, and so I'm not going to spend any more time on it other than to say we think of it in terms of being y. All right, so some pieces of information. Here's our origin. Our origin is always 0, 0. All right, and that's kind of the turning point for everything. Okay, it's like it decides where the x-plane on the x-axis goes from negative to positive, and my y-axis, how it goes from positive to negative as well. I do want to point out one thing. We have, in theory at least, this thing goes on, I mean, you can see the arrows on the end. That can go on for or towards infinity, okay? It's going to keep, just because we see the central part of this does not mean that there's not a bigger thing going on. I also want to point out that I can select the size of my spaces in between as long as I'm consistent. If you take a look here, I go 2, 2, 2, 2, and so on. I mean, my tick marks are at every other one. Now, if you look at my y values, I have 3 between each. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as I'm keeping it on the same axis. If I were to go 2, 2, and then suddenly go 3 here, that would not work. I also can't jump numbers, so I can't go from 1 to 7 along this. All right, so this is going to be our positive side for our x's. This is our negative side for our y's, or our x's, and then positive is up for our y values, and then down for our y values. All right, so in theory, and if you have a point anywhere in this, what's called a quadrant, there's quadrant 1, quadrant 2. By the way, quad means 4. And here is our 4th quadrant. We can have a value anywhere in this first quadrant, and no matter what it is, I'm going to have it be positive and positive. There's no other option. All right. Same with if I am in my second quadrant. My x's, which again come first, are going to be negatives, and my y values are positive. in this case, I am negative in both. In my third quadrant, I'm negative values for my x, and I'm negative values for my y's. And in my fourth quadrant, now I'm back to having positives for my x. I have positives for my x, but my y values are going to be negative. So you can figure out where something is in general just by knowing whether the numbers are positive or negative. All right. So I'm actually going to stop this video here, and we'll pick up in the next video, and we're going to do some practice problems on our values here and on the graphing. All right.